Greetings, Dr. Joseph Martin here. Afterlife Truth, how to prepare. The truth of the afterlife and how to prepare yourself and how society can do that as well. I'm going to be sharing with you a few aspects of an anthropological research that I've been doing for my lifetime, and then some clinical work as my work as a psychologist, now retired. And then perhaps most intriguing and important for yourself is my own personal experience in the afterlife and having a conscious afterlife remembrance and a conscious birth and a conscious life here on earth while I'm with you here now. And my work then, my great work is simply to humbly prepare you for your afterlife experience while you are still here in the physical body. Well, let's start off with anthropology and ancient and modern cultures. The ancient Egyptians, at least in the New Kingdom, had by then in the New Kingdom devised new books, gateways, portals, guidebooks, if you like, to find the path to the afterlife at the moment of death and for the period of time just after the moment of physical death. So we have the well-known now Egyptian Book of the Dead, which was in the New Kingdom. That's 1550 BCE, before the Common Era, just up to and before the time of Christ's birth. We also have now recovered archaeologically the Egyptian Book of the Gates, which discusses the 12 hours after the moment of death, when there's 12 gates to be gone through. Each gate is ruled by a goddess, and each gate has a soul experience or trial. It's like a heroic trial that has to be accomplished. And you go through one gate at a time, and you deal with the inner demons of the personal mind, and also the inner demons that do exist actually in the afterlife underworld of the fourth dimension. For instance, in the fourth gate, there's the lake of fire where you have to move through that. You can only do that if you're already identified with the sun, the god Ra in this case, and become immune to the ego and all the desires that would cause damnation and fire. And there's a lot we can say about this. I'm just pointing out some cultural, historical examples of this. We know that the ancient Egyptians said in all of their hieroglyphics and writings and trainings that they were, in fact, from the three Sirius stars, and that means Sirius, Sirius A, Sirius B, and Sirius C. And these beings of blue light, in fact, are very intriguing. We know a lot about them now through lots of more modern works based on extraterrestrials, we can call them that if you like, and their connections to all our ancient civilizations. And this will be part of the 7 series of stages or epochs that I will be presenting on the whole history of civilizations on Earth for about 5.6 billion years. Now, about 20 years ago, I presented this to the public, the 61-point, 5-pointed star blue light meditation. We want to acknowledge that the 5-pointed star is readily seen in Egyptian nobles' tombs and pyramids and hieroglyphs as a signature of the Syrian people, in fact. And blue light is their powerful light of healing and resurrection that they use in their afterlife experience through the Egyptian Book of the Dead, or the Egyptian Book of the Gates. You may want to listen to it. It's a guided meditation that is available on our website. Now, apart from that, we know that there's the Tibetan Book of the Dead, which describes the 49-day period after the death of the physical body, in which the soul has a chance to redeem itself and to stay strong and go into the clear light with a clear and pure mind. We also want to say, though, going just briefly back also to the Egyptian tradition, that the purity of the heart, which is weighed with one in the scales of the balance, against the feather of truth on the other side. It's the purity of the heart which allows one into the higher realms of the afterlife. And there are many dimensions in the afterlife. And it's the purity of the heart that allows one to move beyond the opposites and move beyond the evil, if you like, or the demonic powers inside and outside one to the great clear light, both in the Egyptian and in the Tibetan traditions, so that no longer is reincarnation expected or necessary. All of these, of course, are later historical examples of a much earlier tradition, and we now are uncovering some materials on the Atlantean Book of the Dead, how the ancient Atlanteans, who are the precursors and the derivatives of the Egyptians, the Tibetans, and all the other races on the planet today, were able to discover the gateways and questing portals to the afterlife themselves. And however, this is even based on a much earlier tradition from the Lemurian tradition, all of which we will present in further upcoming videos. Now, we know from all anthropological research as well that the indigenous peoples of all cultures, ancient and modern again, have their own awareness that the soul is the true reality of the individual, and that at death there are other gateways and necessary techniques to embody and to know to successfully move through the fourth dimensional underworld or afterlife to the higher, greater light in the higher dimensions of the fifth and sixth and seventh and higher dimensional realities. The Dogon people of Africa, for instance, are very much one that we as anthropologists look at in order to understand how they understood their ancestors as being from Sirius B and Sirius C star systems. Now, from a clinical or psychological perspective, I've been able to be part of the first palliative care unit here in Canada, in Montreal, in the early 1970s with Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, and was able then at that time to be with hundreds of people who were passing over into the afterlife, and made some agreements with them to speak with them once they had passed into the other next spirit realm. And apart from that, of course, my own over 40 years of clinical work, many of my clients did pass over, and I have been able to speak with them, many of them, at any time, including now many decades later, and be able to understand what they're experiencing and support them on their journey, because the afterlife is still an ongoing evolution and journey. Having had a conscious birth, I do recall as a young person, and now, even now, all the people and the spiritual masters and people from other star systems within this galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, and within other galaxies, that I was able to ask for support as I came back to Earth. And while here, I continue to ask for all the beneficent grace and support that I do need, as all of us do need, as humble human beings here in the physical third dimensional reality. So how does one prepare for these realities and the reality of the fact of the physical death? Well, primarily it's a spiritual psychological preparation. The highest and best thing that you can do is to meditate and do yoga to regain your super consciousness and your connection to the Buddha consciousness, the Christ consciousness, and the supreme cosmic consciousness. And to do this, perhaps you'll follow your own path, your own way, or the Tao, as we say, your inner heart will tell you what to listen to and how to proceed for yourself. We have put together a comprehensive cross-cultural, ancient and modern series of techniques and methodologies in the I Am Yoga. Primarily, it is about getting out of your mind and getting out of your own way, and the duality that always is part of mind and mental thinking, and coming back down to the heart. It's about the purity of the heart. It's about the righteousness of the heart. It's about the goodness of the heart. It's about the kindness of the heart. Because only in the heart can you unify all dualities, all oppositions, and all complementarities. And that is the only way to achieve a higher afterlife experience for yourself. Otherwise, if you don't unify all the opposites, you can and will be caught in the lower realms of the fourth dimensional afterlife and not be able to proceed to the end of all the gateways and end up unifying with the sun, unifying with the great pure clear light. So the goal then for you for preparation is working on all those things that I've just mentioned. It's about experiencing the wholeness inside yourself, the great stillness, about finding and experiencing the deepest peace, the deepest quality of emptiness and listening, and the ever-pervasive joy that is just silently and still bubbling up inside you at all times. There is a reality of the resurrection of the physical body. It can be done. It is known in all the mystical traditions of the world, the mystical wings of all the great religions, and of course in the indigenous spiritual mystical traditions as well. Jesus, as being the first Christ, is certainly this is a comprehensive modern way and methodology to follow this particular path if you choose. It is something that can be done, and there is a necessity to prepare for this as well. I know in my own case, when any of my clients or those in the palliative care unit were preparing to cross over the great darkness of the underworld to the light on the other side, we actually did some dry runs, if you like, to prepare them for the eventuality of their physical death and parting from this physical third dimensional world and their loved ones. This, in fact, is probably a good thing to do so you can learn to detach emotionally from your body, from its fears, desires, wants, and needs, and also from those around you whom you love. The great news is, though, that love and forgiveness are eternal. That is what the soul is made of. And when you pass over into your afterlife, you still will be able to communicate with all those still here in the physical body left on earth for the time being until they rejoin you in the afterlife. Your love and your superconsciousness and the purity of your heart is the magnet that will draw them forward and help them on their journey when it's their time to pass over as well. And while they are still left here in the physical, it's the magnetic purity and righteousness and goodness and kindness of your heart's love that will allow them to communicate with you in their meditations, in their dreams and visions, and just by feeling the love in the heart. Love is immortal, it's eternal, it's ever-pervasive in the entire ethers of the universe and the cosmos. It's instantaneous, and it is a greatest beauty that one can experience. I wish you well in your preparations for the afterlife. It's probably a good time to be proactive now, long before you get to the final stages, before you have to leave the physical body. All love and blessings to you, Dr. Joseph Martin. Stay in touch, and Om Namah Shivaya.